everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Penelope or Penapple, and today I will be doing a speed build. So I'm making a little house. It's a 2-bedroom. It's a bit small. I built it on one of the smallest lots in The Sims to kind of keep costs down, but I don't really know why I do that because I've always added so many decor items that the house becomes extraordinarily expensive. So I built this house because I was inspired by Womble's, I think that's how you say their name, Little Modern House. I will be putting a link to it in the description down below. They did a speed build with some really, really cute landscaping, and they used the foundations to sort of make garden boxes. So that's what I'm doing with the foundation boxes that I just put the fences around, the little fences. I did it a little bit differently. They put the plants directly on top of the foundation floor, and I deleted the floor so I could put these hedges in there. I just liked it better that way, and also I didn't want to be a 100% copycat. So I also added this little garden area upstairs that I really, really like. I just put the windows in where they are, and later on in the build I add a whole bunch of flowers to it. This build I just in general really loved the landscaping that I did on this build. I had a little bit of trouble with the build at first with some of the layout, so that goes on for a while. So, you know, sit tight if that's what you like to watch. And so I ended up expanding the build, and the overall shape, I think if you look at it from the top, is a cube, I'm pretty sure. So that's where Cubed Cutie comes from. Hopefully it lives up to its name. I wanted to go with a really modern look for this house. I personally enjoy doing modern builds the most in The Sims. And so I'm really proud of this build because I took away some spaces from it to make it the shape more interesting than just a cube. And I think it led to some really interesting some really interesting design, at least in my opinion. And so here I'm adding the windows to the front. I really liked them, although I worry that they might be a little bit too boring. But the windows I really like are the ones I added that face each other on the inside. So they let in light in a really interesting way, and they also would conserve privacy from the outside. Not so much from the inside. There is a bathroom that's overlooking a bedroom, but there are blinds, so I think we're good. I tried to go with a more non-traditional layout, so I plan to put the living room and even potentially the kitchen on the top floor, and then have one of the bedrooms be on the bottom floor. But I ended up just going the traditional route. I also wanted to not have an open layout, and I originally had an idea of having a closed layout so each space would have walls around it. So the kitchen and the living room and the office space would all be separated. But this build is too small for that, so I ended up going with kind of a mix. The kitchen is its own defined space. The bathrooms are all, their own defined space, or the bedrooms. But then the office and the living room are together, which might be kind of hard to get your work done, but I ended up really liking what I did with the office, so, what I originally thought was going to be the master bedroom ended up being more of the guest bedroom or kids' bedroom. The layout on the bottom floor switched back and forth. Where I have that sofa now, I had originally thought that would be the living room, but it ended up being the kitchen. A lot of stuff changed with the layout of this space. I was having a lot of trouble with it. Looking back, I'm really not quite sure why. I think maybe I was trying to be too adventurous with some of the architecture because I got so excited about the shape being a bit more unique. I was like, oh, the inside has to be super, super unique. But it's not, and I think that's fine. I like how it turned out. I also had an idea of the entryway being separate, but that really just cut down on the space. Part of the problem is the front door is 1 square long instead of 2, and so that kind of made the entryway a little awkward. So here I'm starting to put in the kitchen. This is where the kitchen ends up being, but I don't keep this open layout to the living room, and so I get rid of the sort of island countertop idea that I had, and instead I ended up going with more of a galley kitchen, which I haven't done in a really long time. It's a less popular build style now. I think it's considered a little less fancy, but I really liked how it turned out. I went with some really bright colors in the kitchen, and so not this red color. And so I went with the bright colors, and it really helped develop this really bright palette for the inside of the house. That palette is green and not yellow, orange, and this sort of bright teal, which I really love. I personally am a huge fan of bright colors. I know they're not for everybody. My favorite colors are orange and yellow, especially yellow, and so I know that that's not the popular color choice, and some people really hate oranges and yellow, and there can be some really yucky ones, but so can some greens and blues, and I mean really any color, even purple can be yucky if you add enough black or brown into it. Anyways, I digress. The whole house is relatively colorful. I end up going with a similar teal to the inside that's part of the inside color scheme. That's what the cabinets and countertops are going to be. But there's also white and some gray on the outside, which I think mellows it out a bit. I also thought of doing a rooftop garden, but I decided that there was already going to be enough greenery with all of the spaces I had already laid out for the garden, and I wanted to keep the shape relatively clean. So I didn't like the idea of having hair. I think of it almost like a rooftop garden as having hair on the top of your head, maybe a mohawk or something, and I decided this house is going to be bald. Pretty much. But with the color scheme, I originally got sort of into it with the outside of this house, but also when I chose the countertop color. Right now it's red, but I never intended it for it to be red. I just wanted to get the layout first. And so I choose blue countertops, but then I also move on, or not blue, sorry, I choose green cabinets, yes. And then I also added some blue and white cabinets, and I like it. Like I said, I like bright colors, so I liked it. I also went with a matching teal sort of tile for the top of this house, and so this house is almost color blocked, which I really like. I mean, even some of the windows have the sort of teal trim to them. It pleases me greatly. So yeah, have you guys heard of the new restaurant game pack? Are you guys excited for that one? I'm excited mostly because I'm always excited for new content. I looked at the trailer and some of the build items looked really interesting, but personally, that wasn't my first choice for an stuff pack, expansion pack, game pack. It looks like it'll be more interesting than restaurants were in The Sims 3, because if I'm remembering correctly, you just kind of sent your sim to a restaurant and it was a rabbit hole, meaning that they just went in, you didn't see them, and then they came out. And this looks like you might actually be able to build your own restaurant, run your own restaurant, different interactions. So that looks like it could be really interesting. I would have preferred like maybe a Generations pack, bringing back the toddlers. But, I mean, isn't that what most people want? I don't know why they're not giving us that. They are giving us a kids stuff pack, which I think is in kind of poor taste considering that we don't have toddlers. Like, unless they bring back toddlers, which I don't think they would in that game pack. Because that's not really what a game pack is. It's more just like stuff. Or not game pack, stuff pack. Yeah. Game pack, stuff pack. They have so many names. Marketing. But yeah, so I'm intrigued. I would definitely be doing a review of it on my channel, but I'm also a wee bit disappointed. So after that long rant, getting back to the build at hand, I ended up going with a relatively neutral palette for upstairs, and then I brought in some of the colors that I had downstairs, but it's definitely a lot more muted. I also had a little bit of trouble with the siding, just because I'm really bored of all of the bedspreads that we have, and I'm bored of the fact that if I like one bedspread, I might not like the wood that goes with it, and so then I can't really have that bedspread with like wood if it matches, and I'm just a complainy pants today. Complainy. But yeah, the upstairs, especially the master bedroom, ended up being a wee bit boring. I liked what I did with some of the paintings. You'll see that later on. But other than that, it's not really the focus of the house. The focus is really the kitchen and the downstairs. I just really liked what I did. Here you can see I'm starting to add some of the blue counter or cabinets. Why do I have so much trouble with that? I did that in my modern kitchen and pantry build. I kept confusing cabinets for countertops. Anyways, the cabinets are teal and white. I actually alternate them. So I feel like some people might think that doesn't look the best. I personally liked it, but you know, if you download this, feel free to change it, because what I like might not be what you like. Do you guys change builds that you download a lot? I tend not to. I don't know. I actually don't download builds that much. I tend to just make a lot of the stuff that my Sims interact with. But that's because I like building. Not everybody likes building. So here's that sort of patterned white, blue, you know. And then here is where the green starts to come in again. With the table, it has like green legs, I think. I don't know. I love that table. I find it's actually kind of hard to use that table and some of the stuff that sort of came in the... What was it? It was the movie pack. I think of it as the bohemian, maybe slightly hippie pack, but it was the movies one. Isn't that a weird direction to go with that? Oh yeah, movies go hand in hand with sort of bohemian decor and clothing. Interesting. But moving on. I like that I decided to keep these floors the sort of same teal blue as the exterior of the house. I think that's part of what makes it such a fun build. And then this is the couch that brought the orange into the color palette. I'm really glad that it did. I think it really punches up and makes it more interesting. I had a little trouble with deciding what couches to go here. I actually always have a little bit of trouble with living rooms. I don't know why. I just have a hard time deciding on the placement of chairs and the coffee table. I think maybe I'm worried about my Sims not being able to get around the coffee table to get to the sofa, because what I, as an actual human being, or am I? Moving on. But what I would easily get around, a Sim might not. And so I think that sometimes restricts me. But I love this coffee table that I use. I don't know where it's been hiding from me this whole time, but if you had asked me, oh, is there a coffee table in The Sims that is like oval shaped and made out of glass, I would have been like, no. And then I would have been wrong. What a lovely little tangent that was. But yeah, here's the office space, which I'm just in love with what I did here. I think that having the green shelves with then I add in this orange plant, really, I just love it. I just love it. And here I moved the desk out of the way because it was making it hard to actually place some of the stuff I wanted to on the shelves at the time. And then of course I added it back. But yeah, so that's the finished product. It was probably one of the fastest things I did in the build and probably my favorite. And so here I'm jumping back into this bedroom, and what I did with the paintings that I really like isn't actually shown right there. It's later on. But you'll see it. I also wanted to add this closet space, just because I think it gave the room a more interesting shape, and it also just made sense. I also thought of adding a smaller closet, doing a sort of his and her closet, although I find that name ridiculous. Because why did we suddenly decide that a her closet was bigger than a his closet? Why? Anyways, the things that befuddle Penelope. Yeah. But so I also had a bit of trouble with the bathroom layout because of the window that looks into the bedroom. I found that a little awkward, and so I was trying to not put some of the more essential items over there, but then I was like, hello, you can just add blinds, and so they can just pull down the blinds. So problem solved. So part of what helped me finally figure out the bathroom layout was I got rid of that really huge tub, and I just put in a regular sized tub, and then I feel like everything fell into place from there. And I did end up going with those sinks from the spa one. I really like those sinks, but only when I add counters with them, because otherwise I feel like they look actually kind of out of place. But here I'm moving on to what I had originally set aside to be the master bedroom, but then it slowly got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then I decided it wasn't a master bedroom anymore. And so I imagine this as being a teenager's bedroom, somebody who's into music, plays a guitar. I don't know why, but all of the teenage bedrooms I've been building lately are like for like teenage rebels. I don't know. I don't know why. It's been appealing to me, and so one of my favorite things about that bedroom is all the posters I put in, which is all the posters that everybody always puts in when they put in a wall of posters, but I like it. And so here I'm adding in that guitar, and then I also added in this little chair, and so I just imagine the Sims sitting there and like playing the guitar, even though that's not actually a thing they can do. I don't think. I don't think I've ever had a Sim that plays the guitar. I rarely have the patience to have my Sims learn how to play an instrument, which is interesting because I actually play the piano. So maybe I'm just don't want to do that in my video game life. But so I remember them standing up to play the violin, and I suppose they also stand up to play the guitar. I know that they sit down to play the piano, because there's a piano bench. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So do I add keep that carpet? I think I do. And so here I'm starting to add some decor objects. Very simply, I love that little milk pail that I just added, but I think I stop soonish. Whenever something in the build has me a little bit confused, or I'm not quite sure what I want, I kind of just move on and then get back to it. So that's why a lot of my builds are kind of all over the place. But here I just added back some of that blue and green that was originally, you know, mostly downstairs, and so it's kind of like an homage to it. I also had a little personal gym over there, and then that made me add some sort of gym-like posters on the wall, and so I liked it. I often forget about gym equipment in The Sims. I kind of forget it's a thing. Do I? I don't know. Am I just talking now? But yeah, I changed the staircase, and then I used this railing that I almost never use. It's from the Get to Work thing, and I find it kind of looks like what I would imagine a boat railing to be, kind of. But I used it and it worked. I also added a seating nook here, which I absolutely loved. I love this area, and I love that I got to add in some extra storage here. I thought that looked really cool and really realistic. I would totally hang out there like all day long if I lived in that house. I love bay windows, window seats. They're my jam. But yeah, here I'm just adding in the lights because I kind of forgot to do it earlier. The lighting, if I had, like, I guess maybe not my way, but because I am building this, but one of the things that I don't normally see is actually wall lights. I don't know, maybe it's just because I live on the West Coast, but some of the like major styles in this area is the sort of lightly textured walls and what I would call boob lamps. They're just like domes on the ceiling, and so I tend just to not think about lamps in general. I mean, the only other lamps in my house are like on desks, so I don't know. That's it's a little fun fact about Penelope. She doesn't think about lamps. But yeah, here I'm adding that plant, and I love that plant. I like what it brought to that table. Here's actually where I started really adding in some of the plants, because from the start I knew I wanted this house to be really like planty. And then I also added in a little cabinet over there, which I think looks realistic, and then I added this like tub of junk because that's something that I see all the time, like just have this random like tub of junk around. I also really wanted to use that leaf painting, but then I didn't because it's right over there, and so I felt like you couldn't have the same painting twice. So I used that, and I guess it worked out. I don't know, I probably could have used it, but I just didn't. Oh, here's what I really liked with the paintings. I thought that looked really cool. Yeah, and I added a bookshelf, and I just, at this point in the build, I was just trying to fill space, make it the space look lived in, a little bit cluttered, and so I think that worked. I had a little trouble deciding what to put in that corner for a while, and I did this off screen because it took me a really long time, but I added like seating over there, but I ended up just putting more plants. It's like the solution to everything. And over here I put a huge like stereo system because that's something I see, right? That's a thing that people do. They have like stereo equipment besides their television. But yeah, like I said, at this point I was mostly trying to add in the clutter to kind of round out the house, add in the wall decor. I don't know why it's one of the things I like to do last. It's just kind of like one of those patterns that you sort of set for yourself. Like how when I take a shower, I always shampoo my hair, then condition, then body wash, and then I rinse off the condition, and then I wash my face. Like every shower it's the same. I have like a routine. And so that's what I do with building. I have a routine. And so I tend to like first figure out what the layout of the house I want, Then I get the basic layout of the furniture. Then I colored the main furniture pieces so I can figure out the wallpaper and the flooring. And then I add in the clutter. Every build. So yeah, now you don't have to watch any of my builds because that's what I do every build. No, please watch my stuff. Oh my goodness. But yeah, those were the posters that I put in that were kind of sporty. And sometimes I wonder if I even should put decor on walls that don't face the outside. But then I'm like, but you should. Moving on. I had a little trouble deciding on the rug there because I wish the rugs came in more options, size, like shape-wise. But yeah, here's the wall of posters. And I don't know, I guess maybe I just used some of the first choice colors there, and I liked how it turned out. And then I added just stuff. I just added all the stuff. And I love this carpet that I added. I thought it went really well. And yeah, I'm thinking, yes, here, finally, this is my favorite part of the build. It was the architecture. It was the landscaping, and those were the hedges that I was talking about earlier. And then I just added plants to it because I wanted it to look like little garden boxes. And I really, really loved how it turned out, and I got to add a whole bunch of different types of plants. I mostly, because the house is so brightly colored, I went with the main plants being kind of just green and white. And then here is like where I got the most like inspiration. I almost never get to use those wall things. I don't know what they are. Like, what are they? I don't know, but I use them as shelves, so sort of like plant shelves. I guess maybe they're like an awning to put over a door, but I've never seen one like that. So I was glad to be able to like actually use it. And so I just put almost every single plant in the game. It got a spot on one of the shelves if it looked good, and then I added those sort of shelves in other places, and man, I just liked it so much. I also do my trick of there's an actual planter box in the game that the Sims can plant stuff in. And one of the things I like to do is add like non-interactable plants to it, and I think it looks really well. And then you can just take them out if you actually want your Sim to garden. I also added in some cheeky little garden gnomes and a flamingo, and so you can only see them if you're looking really closely. But isn't that kind of the point of garden gnomes? They just kind of are there and you don't notice them until they're like right in front of your face and about to kill you. Obviously, I've had some traumatic experience with the garden gnome. No, not really. But yeah, this is the layout I went with for the front lawn, and I really liked it. I mean, I say that a lot. But and it's a little pointless because I mean I built it, so obviously I like it, but I liked it. And then I haven't seen this used very often, but I use these flowers as the sort of path marker instead of the stones. I've never done it before, and I really liked the effect that it had. And so here is where I'm starting to wonder what I'm gonna do with those little shelves, because they look kind of weird just floating there. And so later on, I do what's one of like my other favorite things with the house. So what I ended up doing was adding the sort of very perfectly like shaped square hedges underneath the shelving, and I thought that looked really good. It was one of my many favorite things with this build. And so now I'm adding in the landscaping up here. I went with some more red and yellow and orange flowers, which I hadn't really, like that wasn't some colors I had really had in the build before. But I thought that this little like pop of them here looked really good. I also forgot to add anything to the balcony, so it's kind of just there. Like, there's lights, but there's nowhere to sit. So I guess if you download this build, you can have some space to play around with. Like, maybe you could put in an easel or something, because there aren't any in this build. But yeah, I put in the shelves. I'm calling them shelves. I really don't know what they are, but I put them in here, and this was like the perfect size for them. So I really enjoyed that, and I think it's here where I figured out the hedge thing. I think so. I think it is. And this balcony, or shelf thing, looks really good from inside the bathroom. I really liked the appearance, especially because I think there's already a potted plant in the bathroom, so it kind of brought the outside inside. And then here is where I figured out the hedge thing. Well, now. So yeah, this is pretty much everything. I'm just putting in the finishing touches. The slideshow is coming up soon. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this build and my ramblings. If you did, please feel free to leave me a like, a comment, or subscribe. That would be really great. My origin ID is penappleYT. I will put that down in the description down below and on the screen. Bye!